Hey everyone, what's going on? Welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to talk about Screams of a Winter Night. This is one I recently just got from Kino Lorber from 1979. Runs about 2 hours. Now, there are two versions on this disc, this Blu-ray disc. There's an hour and a half version, which is basically the theatrical version. Then we have a version that was long thought lost as far as this film goes, which adds a story, another story added into the film itself. The reason I say story is because with this film, it starts off, it's interesting. You can definitely see there is a restriction on budget with this film, especially in the beginning of this film, because all you just hear are just wind howling and a lot of screams and people are getting murdered. And but it's just a black screen. That's all you see. You just see like credits and everything, beginning, opening credits to the film, and that's it. You don't see any actors or actresses or anything that what happens to them. And essentially, time goes by, and you get this group of, I believe it's like college students. They're going up to this cabin, and along this lake, and everybody's telling they stop at this like little gas station, saying one guy there is like you really don't want to go up there, but they do anyway. And upon arriving there, they start telling ghost stories at night, scary stories, kind of like spook themselves. And the reason I mention this is because this is supposed to be like 1979, and it's definitely, it shows its age. It absolutely does. This cabin, or this area that they're going into where this lake is, this is basically the area that we, first encounter at the beginning of the film. That black screen where you just hears the wind howling and screams, somebody people being murdered. And, fast forward to 1979, they're up there, they're telling stories. Some of the people there don't want to really hear these stories. They're getting a little bit spooked, a little bit scared. But there's one guy in particular by the name of John. This guy is a prankster, and he is just looking to scare the crap out of everybody. And he's kind of a little bit of a smart ass, too. So, what do I really think about this film as a whole before I get into, more of the story for this film? Like I said, it is a product of its time. I didn't realize when I purchased this from Kino Lorber, it is rated PG. Now, there are some things, there was a little bit of blood here and there within the film. So definitely, definitely rides that thin line for PG, at the time. I think some of the actors and actresses, yeah, they're not the great. You could definitely tell. Normally, I don't really knock too much of those kind of things with films, but this is pretty obvious when you see it that you can definitely tell who's a more polished actor or actress compared to their counterparts. Now, I will say that the quality for this film, for the most part, looks pretty decent, but you can definitely tell that the print, the negative that they're using, there are blemishes within, the negatives. There are times where the screen will jump. You'll get like be like nice even boom, and you get like a nice little jump on the screen. Nothing too distracting, and it does get better as the film goes along. Now, as far as again how the story goes, they're telling scary stories, and they tell four stories. See, this guy John, the guy who basically brought them there, the prankster, the smartass, he knows the history of everything that supposedly has happened at this cabin, and he tells a friend of his as well. And his friend is, he's basically the straight man of this group. Like he's not cracking jokes. I mean, he's kind of like he's the he's the tough guy in this group. He's the guy who's going to be like straight down the middle with everything. And like I said, they're telling stories, and they tell three particular stories. Now, what you're going to see if you do pick this one up from Kino Lorber, there are four stories depending on which version of the film you watch. If you watch the theatrical, there's three stories that they tell. If you watch the extended, which I did, the 2 hour cut, they tell four stories. There's a story about a witch that was long thought lost, and that whole part of that film, or the film, was rediscovered and put back into this copy, into this print. So I would say overall, though, you're You're not going to be terrified with this film. Absolutely not. Like I said, it's a PG rated film. I think there is a little bit of charm to this film with some of the stories that they do tell. Like I said, just remember that some of the acting is not the greatest in this film. Like I said, you will be able to tell who is polished and who is not polished in this one. But, they tell us one of the first stories is this gentleman, this girl, they're at a prom, and, he's bringing her back home, and he has to get her home by midnight, and he run out of gas. And, he leaves her there on this dirt road in this car. He's like, listen, I'll be back as soon as I can. And he takes off. And this gentleman, well, watch the film. Watch the film. You're going to have to see. Put it this way, it's not going to be a happy ending for this couple. And there's a couple other stories as well. Like I said, there's a story about a witch, which was a rediscovered entry into this film. We also have another story with three gentlemen who were, joining this fraternity, and they had to stay at this abandoned hotel. Now, which is kind of interesting, because on the back of the packaging, it's actually a misprint, because on the back of the packaging, it even tells you some, the different stories that are involved with this film, and it says that they stay at an abandoned hospital. That's not the case. It is a hotel. They say it in the film itself. That one's a little weird. I would say that one of the gentlemen, there are some comedic aspects to this film, especially in this particular one. There's one gentleman, he's just over the top. He's doing like an Abbott Costello, being scared type of thing, and yeah, it's okay. This story is is all right. Like I said, they're working within a confined budget. There's not a whole lot. I would love to know what the production. I really should have looked it up, because I would love to know what the production budget was for this film, because I guarantee it was probably not a whole lot. But like I said, they work with what they have. And the third story I would say is probably, because they do put, like, the witch story becomes the third story. The fourth story is probably the best one that's told, because there's really not a supernatural force being presented in that particular story. It's more of a human nature type story of what can happen when somebody just snaps. So that one's a little bit more well done, and the actress who is our main lead or character in that particular story, she's the polished actress in this film. Like, you can tell she does a really good job in this particular story. Once our 4 stories are done or have concluded, that's when things definitely take a turn for the worse for our group of co-eds. So, overall, what would I say? Because there is, again, things take a turn for the worse, but you have to see the ending, because once they get to the end, you will see it is funny. It is laugh out loud funny, where you see the restriction on the budget for this film and how they conclude this film. But still, like I said, there's a little bit of charm to this one. I would say on a scale of 1 to 10, I'd probably say middle ground for this one. Probably a 5. But for that, it's not bad. Even, yes, it's a 5. It's middle of the road. But I don't think I think you're gonna find something to at least enjoy with this one. It's not an expensive title from Kino. It's put out by Code Red, a partner. The partners with Kino. Once again, there's the front. There is the back. I really like that artwork too. Really great artwork. And there's the actress right there. You see right there. She's the one who snaps in our one particular story. She does a really darn good job too. But like I said, on a scale of 1 to 10, a middle of the road 5, it's definitely worth at least checking out once. I think there are a few stories out of the 4 that are at least worth the price for this film. If you can get it on the cheap, I would not pay full price for this Blu-ray. I picked it up when it was on sale, in the winter sale, $10. It's about right where I want to be. Middle of the road film, middle of the road price. That's where I want to be for this one. But I'm definitely not disappointed that I checked it out. Like I said, at first I was kind of like, I'm not really sure in the first 5-10 minutes how I'm going to feel about this. But I definitely warmed up to it as the film went along. Especially when I did realize it was a PG-rated film. This way I knew exactly what I was getting into, and I was able to roll with it a lot better and enjoy it a lot better. So, Screams of a Winter Night from 1979. You can pick it up from Kino Lorber. I think it's definitely worth at least checking out, like I said, one time. Like, subscribe, and comment if you have a chance, and I will catch you in another episode. Take care.